Here we go with another episode. One Horse Town, episode 6. Let's get started. All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of One Horse Town podcast with myself, the real Mr. Jaime, aka Jaime V. It's good to be back. This is episode 6, like I said. I have been absent for quite some time. If you're a follower of mine, if you've been keeping up with my content, you know that I've been doing a lot of Pokemon stuff, a lot of Pokemon card content. That obsession really came out of nowhere. I have no idea. It was just kind of like out of the blue, some Gary V stuff, some card investment. It was because also too, I think, a lack of baseball cards. There was literally no baseball cards to be seen at any of the Targets or Walmarts nearby. So I kind of shifted gears, went to Pokemon, kind of dabbled in it, learned a little, pulled some really nice cards, some rainbow rares so far, and built a couple decks. So that's just going to grow over time. Unless, I give it up, who knows? But the cards are here right now. I'm really enjoying it. So that's what's been going on lately. That's been my absence. I've been also reflecting quite a bit on my content creation, the vlogs, this podcast, what I want to start prioritizing. And I've come to realize that I really do need to focus on my filmmaking career. I said this in the last podcast, if you watched or listened. And that literally, I think after that podcast, the next piece of content was Pokemon cards. And so I realized too is that I chose an easy way out, something more comfortable. I put it aside. I got distracted, but I decided, recently that I need to start focusing more on my writing. I talk a little bit more about that in the real vlog that I recorded earlier today, which will be released tomorrow. If I'm gonna edit it tonight, I guess. But yeah, look forward to that. Some content's coming back. The real vlogs, this podcast here. We're going to continue making content. This stuff here, not, I'm going to pull back just a little bit, but I still want to put some stuff out there, especially more focused on the filmmaking and the writing aspect of my life, because I think that's really ultimately what I want to start focusing on more, on more. So let's actually get into that. So there's been a project that I have been working on for quite some time, most of it in my head. If you're a real one, if you've been around for quite some time, you've probably heard me talk about it, but The Human Project, which will be hopefully my first official full script, a really good film, an actual film. It probably won't see the light of day for many years, but it's something that has been in my head for quite some time, and I've been wanting to get it out on paper, make a script, finish it. The ideas are there. I've written a lot of notes, been building, but now I'm going to be actually focusing on it and actually trying to finish it. Hopefully within the next year. There's going to be, a couple drafts, the final draft, making sure it's airtight, that everything, is in place. Because ultimately, too, this film is going to be the beginning of a universe of multiple films that are related, they're connected, but two, that they are their own films. They can stand alone as their own films, but like I said, ultimately connect with the other films as well and just add to the story and the plot and the characters. And I decided that I'm going to read just a little bit of what I wrote here. I wrote this quite some time ago, and it was edited with the help of my best friend, Zach Pappas. So I'm going to read some of it here on the podcast. You're going to get, a first-hand look at the first draft of my writing. And then after that, I'm just going to cut it, keep it kind of short. I don't know how long I've been running here, probably a few minutes now. But let's get to it. So if you're not very interested in hearing this script I wrote, that's totally fine. Stay tuned for next week's podcast as well as the real vlog. You can see it on my channel hopefully tomorrow. But I'm going to read some of this here and then we're going to cut out. So this is technically the second scene of the script. I will not read the first scene. It's short. But let's get into it. Excuse me. All right. So Over Black. Music fade in. Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones starts to play. In my mind, that's always been the case. I always imagine the beginning of the film starting with this song. I'm sure we know it, Sympathy for the Devil, with the classic bongos playing at the beginning. So that would fade in, Over Black. And then you would see over the screen, Human Project Productions presents. And then after that, The Human Project, Phase 1. Image fade in, with the music still playing. External Pacific Ocean day. Camera pushes in on an island, far off in the distance. It's covered in trees and what looks like a large mountaintop sitting in the middle of the island, almost splitting it in half. A herd of black clouds push towards the island. In bold over screen, 1976. A seaplane descends into frame. The plane is mostly white with a black strip along the side of it and the symbol of an eagle with its wings pointed sharply upwards, as if it were ready to take flight. A small flag with black and orange colors on it flickers on the tail. Then lightning strikes. Thunder follows behind it with a roar. The wind pushes against the plane. The plane shakes. Internal seaplane, a moment later. The pilot, 23, reaches over to the passenger seat and places his hand on top of the blue folder. He moves his hand back onto the steering wheel. On the steering wheel is a small map of the island. You can see dark shades of gray depicting the mountain, and the lighter shades of green to show the trees scattered around. The landing spot is marked with a square in blue ink. The pilot holds the wheel steady, slowly descending as he nears the north end of the island. The rain begins to slowly cover part of the island as the clouds continue to push over. Lightning follows, then thunder. The seaplane comes down and around the north end. Rain starts to hit the windshield. The pilot sings along to the music. Of course, Sympathy for the Devil would still be playing at this point. As he turns left, he looks over at the storm coming behind him, hoping nothing comes of it. He looks out through the windshield, trying to outrun this rain and storm. He can see far off that there is a part of the island that has not been touched by any rain or any clouds, and hopes that there's a small patch of water where he can land safely and complete his mission. So, of course, we got to keep in mind this is a seaplane; it can land on water. He looks at the map, and he can see the blue squares approaching, blue Earth. He slowly descends, acting precise on his landing approach. The clouds continue to push over the island, consuming it in darkness. Rain pours. Wind gets stronger. The plane shakes. The pilot holds on to the plane steady. The music continues to blare. "Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name." Then the pilot sees it to the left. A tall cliff edge, but wide with a waterfall splitting it. Camera pushes into the pilot's face. Music muffled. He remembers. Then a flashback. Close-up of Elizabeth Kramer's mouth saying, "Waterfall." in slow motion, flashback over, back to present. The pilot knows. Then the front of the plane is struck by lightning, causing it to fail and shut down. The pilot tries to hold on to the plane, trying to keep it level, but it continues to pull nose down. He's desperate to hold the plane steady and to make sure he secures the files in the blue folder. But as he reaches over to take the folder, the plane comes down hard into the water at a Dutch angle, causing the pilot to come forward and hit his head on the steering wheel. The plane skips over the water like a stone over a lake. It slowly comes to a stop, bobbing in the middle of the ocean. The rain falls over it. The pilot sits there unconscious, his forehead bleeding. The map and the steering wheel are also covered in blood. You can only hear the bottom of the plane kissing the top of the water as it continues to bob. Then, the sound of a speedboat approaches. There are 2 men on the boat. The boat pulls alongside the pilot's side of the plane. One of the men opens the door and pulls out the pilot. They speak amongst themselves, sometimes shouting at each other. The first man grabs the pilot and throws him into the boat. Charles. Grab anything else you see in there. The first man, David, gets into the plane and grabs the backpack tucked in front of the passenger seat. He throws it back at Charles. Charles. Is that it? David looks around and even under the seats. He finds the blue folder tucked between the door and the seat. He passes it over to Charles. Charles opens it. David continues to look around. He finds nothing. Charles. David, we need to go! You got to keep in mind, it's raining. Storm's coming over, David checks the music player and pulls out the cassette tape. Obviously the song of Sympathy for the Devil, some Rolling Stones, some mix, pulls it out. Charles. Now! David exits the plane and gets in the boat. They take off, hitting the inside of the plane with water, hitting the blood-soaked map. The boat skips over the water as they escape back north from where they came from. We see them get further away as the camera pulls back into the hunter's home through the window. Soft piano plays in the background as the hunter watches the boat ride alongside the coast. His eyes slowly turn left towards the floating seaplane in the water. Its wings fully intact, its small flag fluttering in the wind. The hunter stands there looking at the plane. Hunter. Jeeves. Jeeves. Yes, master. Hunter. Let's bring in that plane. Cut to black, end scene. So that'll be the first scene. Obviously, there's a lot going on there. Hopefully you guys got all that. Obviously, this is a first draft. I don't think Jeeves is going to stay Jeeves. I just had to, I wanted to pick a generic servant name. Jeeves is loyal, I'm sure. He's top of the line of his trade. But yeah, a lot of going on there. Some questions to be answered for sure. It's all in here, and it's in a notebook somewhere too. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're watching, if you're listening, if you found that intriguing, please leave a comment. Feel free to ask me questions, and I may answer them. I don't want to reveal too much, obviously, because there's more to write, more to come. But I'm excited. I really enjoy the first part of the film. I really enjoy what I wrote. It's better in my head visually because I know what's going to happen, but there are the words, and we'll see what happens. This is a document for myself too, because this will be really interesting to look at later once I do complete the film. And this is the origins. Hopefully this is like a behind the scenes look at the start of this creation of this film. So thank you guys for joining. I hope you really enjoyed that. I'm gonna cut out and get to editing this, posting it. Got to continue with the vlog as well, so look forward to it. You guys are the real ones. Check me out on Instagram at the real Mr. Jaime. Click the link in the bio. There's the link tree there. So there's a Snapchat, TikTok, so on and so forth. I appreciate it. I'm out of here. You guys enjoy your day, and I'm gonna do the same. See you next time on One Horse Town Podcast.